Thank you for joining us today for Sunday Conversations. Today, we begin a series titled Failure to Communicate, where we get some inside scoop of how different couples handle situations. Sit back, enjoy, and delight yourselves with these conversations. Hey, welcome back to part 2. Hey, again, I'm telling you, this is some great content. So hopefully that you continue to watch and pay attention attentively to the information that is given, and hopefully that Yonci has said something that will continue to elevate you in your relationships. Hey, I'm ready to get right into it. Let's go right to part 2.
Women have to toughen up a little bit, and I think men have to soften up.
So what are techniques that couples could use to rebuild the communication, or should I say, to break down the barrier that they placed up in between the communication? Because I also believe that communication can remove so much. If it's proper communication, it can remove so many issues if proper communication happens. So what are some techniques that couples could use to start getting back to proper communication?
So they're going to get some free game here. Normally I don't give out free stuff, but for you, I'll give what I give to couples. Couples will be like, wait, I had to pay for this? Anyway. So it is communication is the biggest technique that I would recommend to couples. If they follow 2 rules, then you pretty much can get through anything, in my opinion. 1, if you stick to how you feel. You start every single sentence with I. I feel sad. I feel upset. Speak to what you're feeling. That's part 1. And then part 2, never, ever, 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 ever assume the person's motive. Whenever you speak to something that is not provable in the court of law, I could say, you moved the refrigerator because I saw you move the refrigerator. I cannot say you were trying to make me upset. I can't prove that. That's speaking to your character, your intentions, your motives. That is where everybody gets into the danger zone. So instead of saying, I feel, it is, you moved that refrigerator in order to piss me off. And so I don't know why I picked refrigerator, but instead you could say, I feel frustrated because when I came home, the refrigerator was moved and that's not where I wanted it to be. Then you can have the conversation, and then he could say, well, I moved it because something fell under there or water was leaking and blah, blah, blah. And then you go, oh, okay. Well, would you be able to put it back when it dries? Of course, babe. And now you just completely missed it. But if you come in firing, you moved that fridge because you knew it would piss me off. Like, whoa. Now he has to deal with the accusations before he can even get to what happened. So a lot of times I see couples they're firing shots at each other, but because it's so common, they don't even realize they're firing a shot. So then the partner gets hit with the bullet, turns around and pulls their weapon out and shoots back. But the second bullet, the first person perceives it to be the first shot. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now they're going, oh, you threw the first shot. Like, no, you threw the first, threw the first punch. Mm-hmm. And now there's this tussle of who's the person to blame. So if we could just stop firing shots altogether, it would eliminate so many problems.
I definitely agree. Definitely agree with that. And it all starts with simple communication, and we have to get back to that. So what's your advice to a couple that feel that the flame has diminished?
I would say go back to what you did to start the flame. The flame doesn't just turn into a forest fire because 2 people saw each other and locked eyes, although Hollywood would act like that's how it happens. You had to cultivate the relationship. You caught eyes, somebody walked up to the other person, somebody started communicating, plans were made, attention was given. What people fail to realize is that we are beings, human beings, and the being part is energetic. It's energy. So I can physically be next to you for 2 hours. I could have done nothing to interact with you for 2 hours. So someone would say, well, we spend all day, every day together. yes, your physical bodies are in proximity to each other, but you have not engaged. Most people's flame dies because they are never engaging intentionally for the purpose of rekindling the romance. Even if we sit down and engage, but the reason we engage is to go over the bills, that's not cultivating the relationship.
Right.
Turning the TV off, turning the computer off, going for a walk, holding hands, communicating, hey, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? You know, touching each other in a non-sexual way. All those things are what stoke the fire. And so people don't cultivate the fire. It's on embers. And then it's like, oh, well, I guess we should throw this away because it's not a blazing fire. Well, no, get the kerosene and douse that bad boy. Put some newspaper in there, do those things to stoke it back up. And also stop doing the things that are putting it out. So if you're a wet blanket and you keep throwing a wet blanket on top of that fire, well, yeah, it's going to go out. So if every time he tries to make plans with you, you're too busy with the kids, or every time she's trying to make plans with you, you're too busy at work, after a while, they're going to stop. So there's so much that we're doing to put the fire out and so much that we're not doing to keep the fire going. It's absolutely necessary. And I think the biggest thing is what I started out with, which is when you date, you have to make an appointment. Friday, 7:00.
That's right.
Yep. You have to actually plan. You don't just magically end up at the movie theater. So when you're married, you're like, oh, I'm going to see them every day, so I don't need to plan. Yes, you do. Even for me, like when I started working from home, my friends just assume, some of them, oh, you're working from home, therefore anytime I want, I can call you and hang out. No, that is not true. No, I have a schedule. So they have to make a schedule for me, even if it's a phone call, if it's during business hours, let's schedule it, because you don't know if I have a conflict, a confliction in my schedule with, a coaching session, or I'm filming or whatever. So we have to treat the partner like a priority and schedule them in just like we schedule dentist appointments, everything like that. Because otherwise you look up and weeks have gone by and we've done nothing to cultivate that relationship.
That's right. So, okay. So what are your new projects that you got coming up?
Ooh, one I can't talk about, but it's going to be really cool. And it's with someone really cool. What can I talk about? I have a lot of YouTube stuff that's coming out. I have so many things that, what's that?
Talk about your book.
Oh, yeah, we talk about my book, and I have a course that I should talk about, because that I'm really excited. I actually put a pause on my release because it was supposed to be released my birthday, April 28th. But I have 2 books, and I want to actually add to them, go back and kind of do a second edition. Mm-hmm. But basically, I interviewed a bunch of guys, and I said, what stuff happens commonly on first dates that you either absolutely love or you absolutely hate? And I took the stuff that was super consistent across the board and put it into a 10 guide. Things that you don't want to do want to do on a first date. And so it's called The Man's Guide, a First Date 101, a man's guide to dating a man. Because who else to ask than a man? You have these women saying what women should do, but the reality is, who cares? If it doesn't work on men, I don't want to know it. So got it out of the horse's mouth. So that's that one. And then my book for men is called Why Women Love A-Holes. This is A and then symbol holes. Okay. I wish I had the title at this point, because now it's just weird saying it. But basically that's what people say. Oh, they like jerks. They like the bad boys. So it's basically, it's explaining what makes a woman drawn to the bad boy. But obviously,
it's the masculinity.
Right. But it's a toxic masculinity. Right. So I explain in the book, not to give too much away, but I explain in the book that because they're rolling their eyes going, oh, women just don't know what they want. No, they're drawn to the masculinity. However, a healthy woman doesn't actually get with the bad boy, even though she's drawn to him, because it's toxic masculine energy. Mm-hmm. So what I've done is invite the guys who are not jerks to employ these masculine techniques, or it's basically energy, but do it in a real way and not a fraudulent way, because a bad boy takes something and manipulates it and perverts it, and that's not good. But what he's doing accidentally is tapping into masculine energy. So I give all that game to guys in my book. And then the last thing I was going to say is my course. So the reason I'm super excited about this is because I have been studying a ton about energy, and then obviously I'm studying the Word of God. And so I've realized that when a woman is not in her divine feminine, so you can have an unhealthy feminine, which is called wounded, or a toxic feminine, it's hurting other people. And just to kind of clarify, wounded is when you're deficient and it kind of hurts you. This is my way I describe it. Someone else might disagree with me. But toxic is when it's outgoing, the poison is outgoing and it's hurting other people. Either way, it's jacking somebody up, but it's not good. In the center, the pendulum swing at the center would be divine feminine. So my course teaches people how to tap into their divine feminine, divine masculine, and when you have those two come together, that's a divine union. And oh my goodness, the sky is the limit. You will literally become the most powerful creature on this earth. And that is why the enemy never wants a divine man to come together with a divine woman, because they will dominate the world.
Look at you. Hey, look, I'm looking forward to hear about that one. So, so yes, like I said, you always got, like I said, you always have some very good content, and it's very thought-provoking. So that's the reason why that I like following you.
I appreciate that.
But tell people where that they can find you at.
So I am everywhere as Chasing Yonci. I like to say is because I'm on a journey. I'm pressing towards the mark, so I'm chasing. And I just want to add this because you said thought-provoking. That used to be my tagline. Was incorporated the word thought-provoking because I never want to claim to be an expert or this know-it-all on any topic, but I do want to make people think. I want to challenge their beliefs and offer information and make people make it make sense. So that's really important. And I've come back sometimes and said, I got this wrong. I actually think this and this. There's something this week that I'm re-evaluating again. So I'm learning, but I'm literally everywhere. Chasing Yonci. My website's Chasing Yonci. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, multiple Facebook groups, YouTube. I'm probably forgetting other stuff, but there's a lot more to come. And I'm praying that the Lord sends me a team because literally, like, I haven't even shown the tip of the iceberg of the stuff that I have just even written down because it's hard to get it all out as a one-woman show. So
in the proper time, it will come out in God's timing. So I'm looking forward to the moment that you reach out back to me and be like, Ike, we are back together finally. I know that would be a huge celebration. And the reason that I say that it's going to be a huge celebration is because that when you know that you're putting the work to do the necessary change for the man that is for you, then the joy of closing the circle that has been open, that there's a lot of joy in that, and not only that, but then it brings the family back. It brings the actual full circle of the family back. And as you said, that he sees your growth, he's acknowledging your growth. So now it's time for him to make that decision as well. So I would definitely say, keep God first, keep praying, and also on the backside of your prayer, say, God, prepare me for when my husband come back, and make this reunion just as pleasurable as it was as that when we very first started.
I want to add this if I can. One of the things that's very difficult about, I'll say the word sin. I don't know that I would call it a sin for me to leave, but just for the sake of explanation, I'll say sin. When we miss the mark or when we don't obey God, it causes residual effects. Mm-hmm. And so I'm extremely protective of my husband. And so I will say this. I put him in a very confusing space. Not everything is cut and dry and as simple as like, oh, yes, no, but, it adds complications when, you've walked away and that person has moved, has no choice but to move on with their life. So I want to encourage people who maybe they were a prodigal son, for example, and they came back. Understand that things change when you leave sometimes, and you have to be able to understand that we don't have the luxury of just snapping our fingers and everything just gets worked out, because there are residual things that have happened. It's like you saying, I want to buy a shoe, and then you say, no, I don't want to buy a shoe, and then they end up selling it. It's like, it's not really their fault they sold it. You walked away. So that's part of the sting, is that there are consequences. We get forgiven, we have his mercy, but we still live on earth, and there are consequences. So I'm open to whatever happens. If he is able to reunite, that would be amazing. If he is unable to, because of, like I said, certain situations, I'm prepared to face whatever it is that I have to face. So God is amazing, and he will keep us all. But I really appreciate your words of encouragement.
That's awesome. And you are welcome. So I just want to say thank you for coming to Sunday Conversations. This is a different vibe, something new. And you are the very first person I've brought on to Sunday Conversation in this aspect. And I brought you on because I just finished a series that is called Failure to Communicate. And it was where I interviewed 4 different couples where they came in and they spoke about different areas where that they had a failure in their communication and how that they overcame it. Some was very some was very heartwarming and touching. Some was extremely comical. One couple, look, we laughed the entire hour of the interview. But I'm very thankful that I've gotten to meet you. I'm thankful that we will continue to build great partnerships, and I'm looking forward to the day that I get to actually see you in person, whether I come back out west or you come to the east. But as usual, I'm always going to be on Instagram with you now. So I'm always going to be on YouTube with you. But I definitely appreciate you, Yonci, coming in to Sunday Conversations and providing your expert input to some of the things that you have experienced, some of the things that you are going through, and how that you using your own trials and your own tribulations and your own challenges, and then how you're helping other people to champion and to also conquer the same issues, so that it keeps them from being in the same place that you are right now. But we are believing God. We are. I will release my faith that it matches yours. That your future will be that the two of you will come back together. So I release my faith, and I will join in intercession with you with that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right then. Thank you, Yonci, and
you
have a great day. Thank you for watching Sunday Conversations. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook. We look forward to seeing you next week as we continue to bring you relevant content. Remember, God has a purpose and a plan for your life. Live life